Hey there, Phil. All right, so I've got you up next to Charlie Hoffman, and the reason I'm doing this is that Charlie's got a little more of a level shoulder turn, level meaning not as under and steep as some, and it's kind of like what how you like to swing. So there's a couple things that I think you could learn from Charlie's swing. One would be at address. I would let your I would let your arms hang more down. So if you just take the hands and move them down so that your arms are more vertical and under your chest rather than out, I think that would be helpful. So put the club a little closer to the ground and try to gain just a little bit of tilt um, at address. So you don't have to bend over a ton. I think it'd be just the having the hands lower and the grip end a little closer to your body would be good. And what that hopefully would set up in the backswing when you keep it on plane and you do a nice job of that is that and when you get to P3 you would see just a little steeper angle in the shoulder turn. Doesn't have to be super steep, just I want you to get it a little bit more tip down. So the left shoulder would feel a little bit more under. And then the third thing, and this is really big, is look how Charlie controls the right shoulder and the shoulder blade. So as you reach the top, you can see your turn is pretty flat, and instead of keeping it more or less in this position here, like Charlie does, you're going to add two or three more clicks. So watch what the club is doing here. It's going to go a little extra and then it's going to bounce forward and then up. So the right arm is just not being controlled well enough there. And you can also see how Charlie is going to retain a little bit more right knee flex than you do, which might help. So lower the hands, get the left shoulder under a little bit, and then as you get to the top, you're really going to try to keep the right shoulder blade from retracting backwards. So there's just that little pullback right there that gives you that little extra bounce. So it might feel like you're cutting your swing off. You might feel like you firm your wrists up, but really it's controlling that right arm and not letting it jerk back that little extra. Now in the forward swing, and this is where most of the tour pros have a big advantage, is the ability to retain bend angles. So you can see when you come down, you're going to get more level. Your pelvis is going to get more level. Your back is going to have very little angle this way. And your hands are going to head more out away from you. So you can see where that is. So hopefully by virtue of being a little more tipped over at address and then steepening up the turn and controlling the backswing when you come forward, the goal would be to see if you could get your hands, let's say you move the grip to here. So let's say on the downswing you would be trying to get your hands to return somewhere in this neighborhood instead of out there. So you do a nice job of adding tilt, which is a must from as flat as you turned it on the backswing, but we could do a little better. And you see Charlie go through it. So now if we look at the face-on view, you're, again, the camera's tilted down a little bit, so I don't think you're probably would appear if you tilted that a little bit, a little more set back to the right, like Charlie is here. So one thing is very, very different. It's the mount that the wrist set by the time you get to P3. So with the hands lower, the wrists already feel a little more cocked, and as you go back, I would say that as the shoulder comes under, you could feel like you get the hands underneath the club a little more, so that at P3 you would be a little closer to 90 degrees, and that might help the thing not want to waffle back a little extra at the top. So we just want to stay controlled more. So if you watch the right foot, most players, because there's a ton of stress on the arch of that foot, it's going to try to roll it over. It's the resistance to that that's really important. So when you watch your right foot, you can see that in the backswing it has a tendency to stiffen up, and it's going to stay where the ankle attachment there is not going to bend in initially on the downswing. So watch that. Just try to make sure that you retain brace on the inside of that foot. But I think the majority of what you would like to do here, and here's your iron swing, would be to, again, lower the hands, maybe add a little knee flex, and then on the backswing, see if you can cock that club up and get it a little bit more up in the air at left arm parallel, and then maybe you can control it a little bit better. Let's say your iron swing about here would be better, because it just has that little bit of kick to it. So I think once it feels like it's not quite as level up here, that when you come down it won't feel quite as sideways, and the face might not stay quite as open as long. Alright, so again, I think with the iron you might want the grip end to be probably about here. You know, maybe 3-4 fingers from your legs and not 6. That would move you probably closer to the ball too, and then everything could feel a little bit more steep on the turn, and a little more cocked up. All right, so see what happens when you do that.